on you.
There we go.
Hello.
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 So, continuing the Balance Talk Show, Part 2. Again, the topic is the same as before. Can be seen in chat to those of you who just joined. So please open this if you haven't already, so you have a reference. For those of you watching on YouTube, we will be talking about the Balance Priorities v2.0 thread on Waypoint, which contains feedback organized from the high-level community, basically. Jeddey, what's with the background noise?
I don't know. I'm just using earbuds. This is Discord, so.
Right. It's picking up a lot of background stuff, like, I don't know. Feels like someone's punching the microphone.
Oh, okay. I can just hold it still then.
Yep.
Okay.
That's very clean. Yep, that's nice. Thank you.
Sure.
So we've got Jeddey and BreezyStarfish here. Say hi, guys.
Hello.
Hello. Said it in unison. That's how in sync we are.
So we've got the same things to talk about as in the first part of this whole thing. Just basically gonna go through the categories while we watch some gameplay. So I hope the guys are ready.
Kinda. I don't know. I don't really have much an opinion on balance.
No?
No. I mean, I like hogs. I like how they're useful. I like those units. I also like flamer. How flamers are right now.
Can we make the background gameplay 2v2? If you guys can invite people, then yes. Yeah, anyone can add me. You can see my name. So yeah. Anyways, let's start talking about the actual thread. So the top point starts with basically the tier 2 issue of tier 2 comes online too quickly, and that the core vehicles are basically too good against the anti-vehicle units, and the anti-vehicles, they don't counter hard enough. So basically we got this 1v1 scenario of Cyclops and Hog, and then the Hog takes the Cyclops down to red bar. What is your guys' opinion on the whole Tech 2 thing?
I think quick tech's too strong for what it is.
I can agree with that. The quick tech to tech 2, I mean, there's really no reason to not try and do it in the current meta. Hogs, which are finally useful, which I don't have a problem with. Like we were saying, you can't counter it effectively with a rush. Point in not to a quick tech 2 to just get an instant advantage, and you aren't punished enough for not having map control.
Yeah, because you got these relatively cheap supply-only units. Not having the power nodes doesn't mean much in that sense. If you're not Johnson, I would say you don't need to upgrade them very quickly, so you can just keep pumping those supply pad upgrades and then triple and even quad pump if we're talking about hogs. More difficult if it's Mantis, or even if it's Marauders.
I think here, just looking over the list of suggestions we've made on the thread, I think the two that I could really get behind, the reduced power crate, like on the map, and then also adding time for the generator upgrades. I'm not a huge fan of increasing the cost to get to Tech 2.
Okay.
Just one at a disadvantage rather than giving you the option one or the other. generators upgrade more slowly and making it so you can't just get that extra power to put you over the edge on the map. I feel like that would slow people down enough that we could focus more on tier 2 to get map control, or maybe units really do some damage before they pump out all of their core vehicles.
Yeah. With the other group, we were also talking about the fact that you'd be able to just make more units and show up at that base as the tier 2 units come out, which would be very helpful.
On that same note, though, I would think increase like the power rates, then you'd have enough units. But this is just my personal opinion, is that not enough units do decent building damage, especially at tier 1.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, at tier 1, units that do good are like Goliaths and Hellbringers if you have enough of them. But besides that, you don't really have enough, in my opinion. Good, strong push against a tier 2 quick tech. I mean, maybe if we increased grenade damage against buildings or shrapnel mine damage against buildings, not so much that people will just mass core infantry and swarm you and destroy your base that way, but make it like just a maybe 10% building increase, like damage to building increase. That would help it so you could punish the quick tech easier.
Yeah.
I made a post in that balance thread. Dude, he mentioned something about how the point of Tech 1 is just to get to Tech 2, which I mental level.
Oh yeah, I remember that.
TS triangle of balance goes to beat a quick tech, you rush.
Yeah, that's definitely true.
You beat a rush, you turtle. And right now, rushing is just not an option. And I know that's no one's favorite thing about, like, I mean, Halo Wars has kind of had a long history of people complaining about rushing being too overpowered, but right now it's just, I remember earlier this patch, I was trying to do enforcer rushes with Arbiter against like any UNSC. You just get shut down way too quickly, and they can get to Tech 2 way too quickly. So there's no point. You might as well tech up, and then it's just race to see you can get more core vehicles.
Yeah, I would have a lot of these cases actually where people try to rush me, and I see it with, you know, I only make one Marine when I fast tech, right? And then I walk one of these Marines over, and I see that they're rushing me. I'll put up one turret, upgrade it to anti-infantry, and that's it, I've held. It's kind of like, okay, so I invest 600 resources versus the guy who did like 2,000, and then I just win. I don't think that's fair.
Exactly. I mean, I play a lot of custom matches against DC Longshot, who he was doing the triple pump Warthog quick tech before it was cool.
Mm-hmm.
And we tested it so many times. Me and some of my other friends, we tested anything to beat him at it, because I mean, he has it down to a science with Isabel. He just, the only way you could beat it is if you quick teched to Tech 2 and got enough AV out, cluttered around your base and built your own turrets. You could kill his hogs, but by then he's still pumping out more hogs than you can your AV control, because hogs are so much faster than Cyclopses and Hunters that he just slowed down Tech 2 so you could rush that.
Yeah.
It would fix that problem, in my opinion, at least.
And yeah, then there's also the matter of the anti-infantry turret for UNSC. Do we think that that's a problem? As someone who likes fire, I'm sure Jeddey has something to say about this.
Oh yeah, I think flamers do pretty good for buildings. What do you mean, like one one anti-infantry turret is too much, or?
Yeah, I'm asking like about the case of 1 or 2 anti-infantry turrets while someone is doing a fast tech, and then you're the guy who's done flamers because you want to kind of prevent that sort of situation, or at least force them to, commit to some defense.
Yeah, they can hold with like 2 anti-infantry turrets if they have units in front of their base. It's pretty tough to push through. You have to have like full 80 pop.
Hmm.
And then
by that time they got the tier 2 units.
Yeah. But if they spend the 600 on the anti-infantry turrets, I don't think they'd have Tech 2 that fast, so...
Oh no.
So...
The way it times out for me normally... Oh, sorry. Go on.
They'd have to use 3 to completely hold off the flamers.
The way it times out for me normally is I would already have the tier 2 vehicles out by the time they arrive, like the first one. And it's like, it's 3 minutes and some seconds. And I got that. And I got the anti-infantry turret, and then more vehicles on the way. And then they just never really build up that 80 pop blob that would be able to break it. At least that's my experience. But now if you're looking at a world where your tier 2 takes a bit longer, and let's say I'd be just putting down my garage when those guys arrive, I think that could do a lot of damage, even with the anti-infantry turret.
It could, but like you have to make sure your base is locked and then build up at least a good amount.
Yeah.
Like 4 or 5 hogs. And then you should be fine.
Yeah, in the current meta, but if Tech 2 is lower, is it possible that we'd be in a scenario where you got the building coming up and then the flamer's gonna jump on it?
Yeah, I think so.
And then you don't get the buildings up.
I've been able to stop double factories.
Yeah. I think sometimes it's possible, like on the smaller maps where the rush distance is pretty good.
Yeah, like Frontier.
Yeah, Frontier is great for that. But you get something like this, Badlands. That's gonna take a bit to get there.
Yeah, and then you're forced to quick tech.
Yeah. Have you been trying to do rushes, Breezy?
Not since my initial rushes got shut down so hard.
Right, with the enforcers, you mean you got tired of it after?
I'll be up front. I'm not as good of a player as Jeddey, so obviously has a better skill level than I, so he can probably get away with those rushes when people are quick teching. But against me, where I'm kind of like on the fringe, up tier, but not one of the elite, like I would consider Jeddey, then...
Thanks, man.
Yeah, there you go. But I mean, I not really a point in it, in my opinion. But if you did, Tech 2 was delayed, kind of like how we've been talking about, then because you could jump on those garages as they're getting laid down before they can start pumping out units out of the garages, or you could focus down the anti-infantry turrets and then take out the garages rather than picking one or the other. The rush either way.
Yeah, one of the things I wonder about is, are the infantry turrets, the anti-infantry turrets for UNSC, gonna stay too strong anyway? I really can't put a finger on it just yet.
Yeah, I think they're very strong. Like, with Anders, what you can do is you can quick tech, but then you can, after you get tech 2, instead of going vehicles, you can just go armory and upgrade your turrets and build siege turrets, and you can hold off complete ground armies, and then you can go sentinel and just win with that. And they can't touch you. They can't touch you until 100 pop or 80 pop at least.
Mm-hmm.
They might need 80 or they might need 100 pop if it's like base upgrade level 1. I think.
Yeah, then they can also make Kodiaks and stuff, so that could be really brutal to try to break.
I don't even know how a UNSC would break that, so...
Yeah, we were talking about that with the previous group, and one of the big points was that Nightingales just can't out-heal that, so it would be very difficult to get a ground army on top of the Kodiaks.
What I would do is I would go dispersion nozzle and then get out like a couple Nightingales and just smoke the siege and then just melt everything with flamers. That would be my idea.
Yeah.
That would work.
What to do in that situation.
Yeah, I guess it depends on whether they have enough Wolverines, right? Because if they do, then the Nightingales don't get there.
Yeah.
If they just have any sort of ground army, period. I mean, being a base with no support, that would be picture perfect, and it would be end of story right there.
Yeah.
If they get those turrets up, which I mean are really expensive, but we're talking you're attacking at like 80 to 100 pop. They'll have some supporting units, maybe even a Douglas. We know kind of the beast that Douglas is right now.
Oh yeah, the Spartan's definitely really good right now.
But I'm not complaining about Spartans at all. They're finally useful, so...
So all three of us agree, by the way, with... All three of us agree that the vehicle meta is just not stoppable right now, as is, right?
Yeah. I mean, Arbiter, obviously, but that's about it. I don't know.
Yeah, he's a special cookie. He can do stuff.
Yeah. Arbiter has his own tricks up his sleeve.
I mean, I did see... I almost lost to a Cutter, and what he did was he built anti-vehicle, and then what happened was my rush failed, kinda, and then I didn't go as quickly of a Tech 2 as I wanted, so he got Tech 2 first, so he got out his Cyclops, and he started to kill all my Hogs, because he had more Cyclops than Hogs, but then I was able to get up another base, and I was able to get on a quad pump.
Oh.
And then I was able to run him over with a Mac Blast because Isabel. So
yeah.
But I think the way to be after seeing that, I think the way to beat Hogs would be to beat him to Tech 2, but currently you can't.
Yeah, and when you do, how are you gonna outproduce them? Seems like an impossible task.
Yeah.
You need mini bases close to your base with raid camps already built. Well, sorry, raid camps or barracks, whichever you're doing. If they're gonna go Hogs, you need a mini base close to your base with a raid camp already built, so that way once you hit Tech 2, I'm building the raid camp, then the AV right away. And that, I mean, that's the only way I've experienced success in defeating a Tech 2 quick tech Hogs.
When I did that once, the guy made snipers, and it didn't go well for my AV.
Yeah. I can only imagine.
Which is actually pretty difficult to recover from, because you've spent all your eco on those AV units, right? And then, they're like, oh, I've got all this power, I'm gonna counter you. No, you counter my counter, and then you don't have any power to do so.
Just build flamers.
Just kill flamers.
Flamers solve everything.
They do.
What do you guys think about the scouts?
Scouts need a pop.
Scouts need to counter rush infantry much better than they do. I mean, sometimes scout units being effective versus tier 2 vehicles. It kind of that's effective. I would like it if scouts had more of a role after. I mean, scouts are really expensive, so you invest in them up with a bunch of very expensive units at Tech 2, where as soon as your opponent gets to Tech 2, and Hunters and Cyclopses shred scouts like they should, with really expensive units, counter rush units very well, and don't transition to mid-game well at all. If they countered rush infantry better, so you only had to build like them to counter rush units.
Oh, you're breaking up a bit there. Could you repeat the last part there?
Last thing you heard me say.
About if you could build less scouts.
If you could build less scouts to counter the rush units, that would be pretty good for the balance of the game. Not that, make it so to Tech 2 better. Second upgrade be that shrapnel rounds, whatever it is. Make it so they can tango with like AV and core vehicles in air slightly better, so they're not just a useless expensive unit. You can't reuse, because I mean even core infantry transitions better to mid game than scouts do.
Yeah, I think that's definitely true. That it just costs a lot, so you can't have a lot. But if you do have a lot, they can kind of trade with everything. It's just you never get there, and I think that the cost reduction is something that addresses just this problem. And we were talking with the other guys about actually making their upgrades a bit cheaper, so that you can afford that as well, especially for the Jackrabbits at 450. That's pretty much halfway to tier 2. And why would you pick that up, to be honest? Like, if you go hard on Jackrabbits, then sure, it makes sense to upgrade them. It's better than getting 5 more. But 450 power, do you guys think that's worth it?
No,
I don't think it is.
So even if they were better and countered rush units, that would be still too expensive in your minds.
It's like Jackrabbits could kite circles around any rush unit. The only ones that are ranged are Enforcers and Hellbringers. Hellbringers have such a short range, the Jackrabbits could just fit circles around them, so you don't need the heal drone. I mean, if you want the heal drone, I'd maybe drop it to, I don't know, maybe like 350 power. I don't want to drop it too low, because then you end up with, again, where you can just do hit and runs, and they just heal themselves up. Game. Much more affordable than 450 at upgrade.
I don't like how Jackrabbits are now with when they speed up from a stopping point to when they speed up. Their acceleration sucks. Like, I don't think that should have been changed, because currently I could lose like 3 Jackrabbits to like an Arbiter or an Honor Guard.
Yeah.
Just because I can't get away.
Yeah, that's true.
And also the heal drone. I haven't really noticed it having too much of a big impact anymore because of how it was nerfed. I think it needs to go down to 8 seconds for the heal.
Okay. So you think the heal delay is too much now?
Yeah, 10 seconds is too much. They can't get away. They don't really heal. If they were 350, I'd be all for that. For the upgrade.
I wouldn't be opposed to those changes that Jeddey suggested.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
What do you guys think about the other scouts? Is there a place for ghosts?
We're in a rough spot. Because I think choppers are great. Just leave choppers. Oh, I think they're good. Except for maybe what we suggested about countering rush units. But ghosts, I feel like, are in a weird spot. Because their upgrade gives them shield. But, I mean, it's not like it's where they just start shredding infantry, or the heal drone, where if it's changed again, heal drone could make it so Jackrabbits could be effective hit and runs.
Yeah. It's like half half of that, pretty much. Because you keep healing back, but with a longer delay.
Exactly.
So in the end, it's a very, very similar upgrade, but it just gives it in a different way.
I feel like if ghosts maybe took a bit less damage from ram, I mean, like choppers you can ram stuff and it's okay because they are a lot beefier.
Oh, okay.
Made it so ghosts took a little less damage from doing the rams. That would help them a lot because then you'd have the shield upgrade. It's kind of make that ramming negated. They have a total of the same health as they would if they didn't have the shield upgrade. It just makes it so their ram is more effective.
Yeah, that could be easily done. You just all 343 would have to do is just take the ram damage multipliers for self damage and create a new one for ghosts and make it less. That's perfectly doable.
Like right now, Master and Arbiter, neither of them have any reason to build a ghost. Master, you can teleport suicide grunts. That solves your problem. Arbiter, enforcers or suicide grunts. Well, the ram is a bit more effective, gives you a good anti-hero option and anti-rush unit option for both of them if they don't want to go suicide grunt.
Yeah. Yeah, but whereas choppers are, I think, a unit that just fares overall better against anything than both jackrabbits and ghosts because they have some AoE. So even if they get countered by some core infantry, at least they have that, and
Exactly.
and can hit multiple at the same time. Although they don't have the same mobility. I think they actually have a tough time to fight against grunts because of the grunt mines.
And I feel like that's a fair trade-off because choppers, okay, mobility for better kind of upfront fighting.
Yeah.
That fits the chopper's aesthetic, but just because that's a fair trade-off in my opinion.
Yeah, I have to agree. Like they counter the rush units a bit better, even currently, than the others, and you can always use them to do a powerful ram against those tier 2 vehicles as they come out. So the change to the tier 2 times would mean that choppers would gain a lot of traction in actually shutting down tier 2 play, I think.
Which wouldn't be bad at all, in my opinion. Kind of like I said at the beginning. Once you get to Tech 2, more viability by making it so you have...
Oh, one more thing actually about scouts. Oh, sorry, you were cutting out. I thought you weren't talking. Could you repeat?
Yeah, I was just saying, if Tech 2 takes longer, I think that would be great for scout. That many more scouts to deal with their vehicles, and you'd be good to go.
Yep. What an exchange of minds in this game. So what did I want to ask again? Oh. Oh crap, I forgot. Oh, yeah, spotting with scouts. So jackrabbits are pretty much widely used, I think, to create a lot of vision for Kodiaks. Do you guys think we could be seeing something like that with a potentially buffed blisterback? Or is it just
my
unnecessary?
opinion, no. Here's the thing with blisterbacks. They're my favorite unit in all of Halo Wars 2. I love the unit model.
Mm.
The rockets. I love everything about them, but they're just so expensive. They're so ridiculously expensive. You going blisterback and like chopper / ghost, that much more vision. I think it would be more effective to get a bunch of grunts and some locusts, and you'd be much better off.
Okay.
I think that's more back being too expensive. Scouts not aiding up blisterback. I could see the scouts helping out blisterbacks by providing vision. But
Yeah.
once you get to Tech 3, I mainly just build blisterbacks for fun.
Fair enough. There is a note for buffing them, so I guess that's good. That's a good thing then. Let's talk about the bigger deals. So this was just a kind of random thing that I remembered about scouts. So much more important than this is Vordus and how the topic proposes to deal with the goo, Maelstrom, and Cataclysm. What do you guys think about those?
Vordus.
Yeah, Vordus.
You gotta kind of tread lightly with the nerfing. Because, I mean, I know a lot of people are of the mindset where they're like, hey, let's nerf Vordus to the ground. Personally, I'm not a huge fan of that. I don't like the idea of leaders being useless. I think that the goo, it's hard because goo is such a vital part of his kit. All of his leader powers revolve around it.
Yeah.
The duration of the goo, so it doesn't just constantly stay on the ground. Down of his powers, because I remember one custom match I did. All I built was a 2v2 build core vehicles. I built a unit and about 6 or so engineers. That the other team came at us with like basically 2 full pop armies. I had Cataclysm and Maelstrom off of cooldown. By the time they repopped, I had it ready to go again. So I think increasing the cooldown of Cataclysm would help balance Vordus a lot, because...
Oh, you're cutting off a lot there, actually. What's going on with this Discord stuff? We gotta figure this out. Have you got your sensitivity very low? Breezy.
I'm trying to figure out my connection info. Sorry that I'm being the issue here. Let's see here.
Okay.
I think it's just the ping. I think the ping's killing me.
Right. It's very possible. We could try to switch to the Xbox party chat. Would you guys prefer that? I think it's a better option, I think. Alright, let's go over there. See you there. Breezy, you got me added, right?
Added on Xbox. I'll join in a second.
Yep. Okay. See you there. Yep, sorry about that, everyone. It was getting too bad there. Hey Jeddey, can you hear me? I hope I'm transmitting my voice. Test, 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 test. Oh shit. Okay, this is a problem. Is this one of those times when I have to turn off my... Oh god. Let's do this quickly. Luckily, the game is still running and I didn't interrupt anything, so that's good. But sorry for those who are actually interested in the background gameplay. Yep, there is gonna be more. Breezy, you'll need to add me, because... Hey, Jeddey, does this work now?
Hello. Yes.
Okay, great.
So much better. I hope it sounds good.
Yeah. Yeah, actually, your voice is so much better here. So much better. You have no idea. Should have done this from the start.
Now?
Yes, very nice.
Here we go.
Oh, we should have done this from the start. Oh my god, it's so good.
Come on, Discord, pick up your game.
Yeah. Okay, so where were we?
I believe we were talking about Voridus.
Oh yeah. So what do you guys think about how the topic talks about his infusion mostly and Cataclysm?
I know I kind of went on a little rant before I cut out and we took our break, but I just think increasing cooldowns of Cataclysm and Maelstrom and decreasing the damage that infusion does, well, not infusion, the goo, would be a lot better.
So, can you go through that again? Just so I can write it down.
So, increasing cooldowns of Cataclysm and Maelstrom and decreasing the duration of goo on the ground.
I think the infusion should be smaller. Because, like, the whole map gets covered in it. Even though it may get nerfed to, like, a shorter amount of time, it still would be annoying to go around it.
Yeah, I think so far everyone agrees that it lasts too long. I don't think many people at all said anything that opposes that. So Breezy, you're saying that damage reduction would actually be bad, right?
I mean, I know that's not a very popular opinion, but I think that Voridus's kit just revolves around the goo so much that if you nerf its damage too bad, I mean, maybe touching it up, decreasing it a little bit would be a terrible idea. But if you do it, if you nerf it too bad, then also Voridus has nothing, because it's not like Grenadiers are that great. And if you decrease the duration of the goo, then all of a sudden his leader powers aren't as effective because he needs the goo there to make it happen. So I mean, I feel like it's a thin line with Voridus between overpowered and underpowered. So I would just err on the side of decreasing duration, but leaving damage the same.
Yeah. So currently the topic only says to change the increase that it gets from infusion tech back to where it was. So the DPS, as long as you're on it, would be the same as it was, well, similar pre-nerf. But the nerf actually was a buff for the infusion tech, goo, basically.
Mm-hmm.
So what it says there is to revert that, to make it not a buff, but to return it to the same as it was without.
I can see that working. I mean, it's kind of like I said, Vortis is gonna be, he's gonna be a doozy to balance, just like, because the goo, if it's too bad, Vortis is bad. If it's too good, Vortis is too good. So
Yeah.
I mean,
They're one and the same, basically.
I
basically,
mean, he still has combat spoils. That's pretty good.
yeah,
Still really
that is
strong.
good.
It's true.
I mean,
We
like-
do have one on the list to make it less if they're hitting the main base.
I don't think that would be a terrible idea. Because like the only reason people don't pick combat spoils more often is because infusion mine is so good.
What if it didn't give you any money from hitting the main base and only from supply pads and generators? Because then it'd like force you to attack the supply pad on a mini base and then attack the supply pad on the main.
I think that would be a good change. I don't see a problem with that, just because then you can't reap all the benefits and destroy the structure that is actually building stuff. So if they made that change, I would think it would be good.
That's much more extreme than what's proposed, though. Would people still pick it up?
I don't know. Because, I mean, the thing is, it's a tier 1 power. So
Yeah.
I don't imagine it should be that good in the first place. I mean, should it be viable? Yes. People should have a reason to pick it. But it's not like it needs to be an all-around great power. Because, I mean, it's not like it's a 6 o'clock power.
Yeah.
It's a tier 1 power. So it shouldn't be game defining. Because, I mean, if you think about it, look at Colony's 2 tier 1 powers. There's Skitterers and Living Barrier.
Yeah.
Neither of them before the bug, neither of them are really that game changing. I mean, they age you one way or the other, but not game changing. And I feel like if we go with what Jeddey said about you attack a supply pad, it gives you supplies. You attack a generator, it gives you power. That would make it so combat spoils still kind of has a role and is still useful, but it's not as good as it is now.
Well, now thinking about it, you actually cannot do that. It is tied to the cost of the building.
Mhm.
So if you're
I know a
attacking
mini
like,
base gets like 350.
Mm-hmm.
oh wow, it gives back more than it's worth.
Yeah.
Oh. Okay, that's not good. You mean it only does that at the second point or the first point?
The first.
Holy shit.
And then the second point, it should add 100, I think. That's if you kill a mini base. It's either, I think if the first point, I know, only gives you supplies, I think the second one gives you power also.
No, it's all about what building you attack.
Not
So
sure.
if you attack, well, right now, if you attack the main base, since it has a cost of power attached to it, it's also gonna give you that, but it gives it to you at a
Oh,
very
okay.
high rate.
Okay. Yeah, I don't play Vortis that much.
No worries.
Neither do I
I've only
really.
played, touched them like twice.
I sacrifice my dignity instead of choosing Voridus, so...
And your guys' thoughts on Pavium?
Yeah.
I think Burnout's too strong.
Pavium's made me rage quit a lot. Kind of like what Jeddey said, Burnout is... I mean, I think it's really up there with Rolling Economy when it comes to the best Tier 1 powers. Just because, like, I mean, it gets supplies faster, builds units faster. I mean, I had someone I played once in a 1v1 get his Pavium hero out before I could get, like, I think 5 Goliaths as colony.
Okay.
I mean, obviously he just did a quick hero build, so that's how he got it out so fast. If you're doing a normal make your economy then get your hero, it doesn't happen as quickly. But I mean, that's the thing is if you just put an armory and a supply pad or a power generator close to that, you could bump out a hero quickly, you could bump out jetpack brutes, or even just double down on your resources. But I think maybe increasing its cost would help change Burnout, because now it pays for itself and more exponentially. It should always pay for itself, obviously, unless otherwise there's no point in picking it. But I think it's a little too good now, and it's just, along with the rest of Pavium's kit, it makes him a pain to deal with.
Yeah. So the currently proposed changes are that we take away some of Rain of Fire's base damage. Well, obviously very important, because look at the 3v3 game, what you get is 3 people doing that on one guy, and then they can't do anything. So it's kind of like, why aren't you running away your base, noob?
Exactly. I mean, especially because, I mean, if you think about it, Eradication, which is a whole different can of beans, but Eradication was the base breaker back in the day. Now they've nerfed it, so Eradication is still a base breaker, but in a lot better spot, but it costs a whole lot of resources, has an insanely long cooldown, and is a 12 o'clock power. I mean, Rain of Fire is none of those things. It has a pretty quick cooldown. It's pretty cheap, respectively, for like what it does. And it's a 6 o'clock power.
It can get very close, yeah.
Exactly. So, I mean, I think decreasing its building damage and increasing its cooldown, kind of like what's been suggested in the thread, would be great for Rain of Fire. It would make it more area denial / like great teamwork. You drop a vortex or a maelstrom and you catch some units in the Ring of Fire. It'd be great.
Yeah.
And it wouldn't make it as base breaking as it is now.
So the guys in the chat are saying that the leader Y ability is really, really OP. You guys got any comments on that? For the Pavium here.
Units are clumped up in a ball.
What Jeddey
You
said.
can just Y the middle of it, and then your whole ball is slowed down, and then you just get Y ability. I mean, Rain of Fire or mines drop on top of you, and you die.
I've had, like, I just barely had a game today where I did what Jeddey explained, where I had my units a little clumped up. I probably should have had them spread out a lot more. But what was annoying is kind of like what maybe the guys in the chat are talking about. He used his Y ability on my front unit, and then everything else behind it just got stuck behind it, and then I tried to retreat, and everything, like, nothing moved. And that was the weird thing for me, is I understand what Jeddey's saying. If he uses the target designator in, like, the middle of a ball and slows down everything, I feel like you should be punished for that. Nothing's wrong with that, because you're just punishing bad play. But the fact that I couldn't move any of my units, like the ones that got stuck in the traffic jam at the back, and I tried to move them back because he dropped ultramines on me, I didn't like that part at all. I thought that was a little overpowered, because he hit the front unit, but yet the ones way in the back, couldn't move fast either. I thought it was real dumb. But, I mean, that's just me. I think it's overpowered, but that's just me. I'm a scrub, so.
It probably helps if you got the second to actually shoot down those mines, right?
Exactly.
Like currently
I feel
trigger
like
is
if
so
you do
fast.
target designator with, yeah, if you do target designator with rain of fire, I think that's fine, because that's just rewarding good play on the Pavian part, punishing your bad position on yours. But the target designator with ultra mines, which probably are one of the best leader powers in the game right now, it's just unreal.
Patrick Max saying you cannot shoot the mines. Yes, you can shoot all of the mines. All of the mines in the game as they are arming. Or if you have the detector, then you can shoot them past that as well. But the problem is they're dropped on your army and you don't have time to do it.
Additionally, if you, the mines are kind of a low priority for units to shoot at. So if you're engaging if you're in the middle of an engagement, you're attacking Pavium's army, he's attacking you, and he drops the mines. I mean, even if you have excellent micro, I don't think you could hit all of them quick enough for not at least 1 or 2 to go off, and that's really all you need to kind of turn the tide.
Yeah.
It's not like a scout mine where there's a scout mine in your army you can shoot because there's only one of them. You move on with your day and you're good to go.
Yeah, to be honest with you, I've never seen someone go and say, hey, the mines are not as good as you're saying, I've beaten them all the time, here's 1,000 clips of me doing it. No, it always goes the other way around. Although I'd love to see that.
I mean, here's my thing. I'm okay with the mines damage if their arming time was a lot longer. Because if you think about it, what the mine should do is in their name. They are a mine, not a bomb. So they shouldn't be exploding instantly. There should be a decent delay with them, especially with how strong they are, where you can't just drop it on top of an army and wipe it. You could lay a clever trap or make it so they retreat into the mines. But with them exploding as quickly as they do, their arming time, it makes it it makes it really overpowered, in my opinion. If you make the arming time a lot longer, they would be in a better spot.
Yeah, for sure.
I think the ultra mines damage is too much. Lotus mines don't even do the same amount as
That's
ultra
true.
mines.
Although well, one is a tier 2 point, one is the tier 3, so there's a difference there. But then I do agree that it's too much. One of the other things is that UNSC can actually also stun with the Spartan if they have one. And then drop the mines, and then we're in the same scenario pretty much as with Pavian, because the Spartan stun lasts so long. But then when you see a Spartan, you kind of should be pre-splitting, right?
Mm-hmm. Also, Spartans,
not really
their slam, it's easier to dodge a Spartan slam than it is to a Pavium's Y ability. At least in my experience, because Pavium has a lot more range. It's instantaneous. It's kind of like a hit scan weapon. The Spartan, you can see it getting closer. You can try to move out of the way, and then they do their slam, and you can kind of dodge it a little bit better. Obviously not easily, but you can.
Yeah, at least you can mitigate it, right? Like some of your army will be not hurt.
Mm-hmm. I mean, I feel like this is where the difference comes between something being broken and a skilled play. Because I've seen players that are in a Hog Wars match where one's an Anders, one's an Isabel, and the Anders has Lotus Mines, where the Anders will ram the Isabel Warthogs, drop mines on them at the same time, and will blow up a decent amount of the Isabel Warthogs. And I feel like that's a skilled play.
Mm-hmm.
So I see nothing wrong with that. But with Ultramarines, their damage plus arming time, it's you can't. They're not apples to apples. If you decreased its damage, then maybe you could say the same thing. But then it's no longer an ultra mine. It's basically just plasma mines with 3 extra mines.
Mm-hmm.
So,
which would feel like an upgrade from the, second point to the third point. It would. Mag Blast doesn't kill an entire army at level 1.
no,
and
doesn't.
it's arguably the strongest 6 o'clock, right? As in the burst damage types.
Mm-hmm.
What do you guys think about Serena and the Cryo Troopers and the Ice Slow? Is that to be compared with these guys?
Slow. It's too much.
I feel like maybe if your movement wasn't as slowed, it would be a lot easier to deal with. The problem is, like attacking a turtled up Serena, especially if she has watchtowers around her base as well. It's so hard. You watch your units just slog it, freeze, slog it some more, freeze, all the time getting pounded by siege turret shells. So I think if units moved that in chilled areas, it would be a lot better without making it so Serena didn't have that special mechanic that she has.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think there's a lot of people saying that as well. That it's so difficult to deal with the siege turrets, particularly when the siege turrets themselves have the freeze effect.
Exactly. It makes it so you can't even get close to a Serena's base to mitigate the damage, because you just get frozen there too.
Yeah. oh, sorry, that's not what I meant. I meant that the siege turret shot gets it. Not that the turret is surrounded by a frozen area. So it's a chilling effect, rather. Sorry.
Mm-hmm.
I think the chill is too fast for what it is. Because I find myself going around power nodes. And then when I send a unit to capture it, it freezes mid-capture. Which
that was...
it doesn't even make it to start capturing, and it starts to chill. Or it'll freeze. And that's annoying.
Yeah, that was something Metaloid was saying, that the tier 1 units take a pretty long time to actually get a point with, if it's Serena.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Generator upgrade complete.
I mean, in a perfect world, I would like her cryotech to be split into 2 liter powers. I mean, not 2 liter powers, at least 2 points. But, I mean, I know I talked to one of the developers of 343, and they said currently they don't have the ability to do that, to make liter powers 2, or like make a more or less points can be invested in it, because they just don't have someone currently on their team that can fix that. I think they got moved to a different project.
Yeah.
So I mean, that perfect world is unattainable as of right now.
That's actually very useful to know then, because we can change all those points to be more valuable at their current levels. So I do know that changing how many points it takes to get to the max level of something would require language changes, because the descriptions would have to change, for which you need the localization
They
team.
mentioned that they don't have a UI, I think that's what they said, a UI specialist to work on it right now. Because we brought up the fact that I'm not sure if it's UI, because most of the developer mumbo jumbo goes over my head because I know nothing about code. But we did bring up the fact that we would like raid, like banished raid, to be 2 points instead of 3, and they say currently they don't have someone that can do that. So
well, that's odd. I thought that was modularized in the end, but maybe not.
Yeah, I don't know. It was post Carnage, so you can ask him.
Yeah.
If you
It's
what it
been
was.
months for me as well, so I don't really remember that intricate detail. But either way,
Yeah.
if they can confirm that that is in fact not something that they can do anymore, then they can just adjust the. Anyway, the point is that we know which powers are the problem areas, and if those can be changed in a way that makes them better for the point investment, then we're in a fine position, I think. Just reward all those points we put into them.
Yeah, I liked what Jeddey said about units taking longer to freeze, because basically if a Serena gets a power node, it's hers. You don't even try unless it's right next to your base and you know she has no units around it, because it'll just take your unit that long to capture it, because it'll just keep getting frozen. And same thing goes if you're marching on a Serena base. You can get shelled by siege turrets, but if it takes longer for you to freeze, then chances are you can get close enough and actually engage a lot quicker. So
yeah, I think we covered pretty much everything in the super important category. Then there's the topic of phantoms. Do you guys have anything to add to what's been previously discussed? Is it enough to just nerf Conduit of Rage to get phantoms right?
I think Phantom's health should probably be decreased. I mean, they are flying units, so they should be able to get away.
I don't think I have not fought a good Phantom user yet, so I don't think I could provide a good opinion on that. I think Conduit of Rage does need to be fixed with Phantoms, but I don't have enough experience in that regard to make an opinion.
Okay, then let's just jump into the next thing, which would be the tier 3 vehicles. Do you guys ever use them?
No.
Why build a Wraith when you can have a Marauder with thick hide?
I know that redline tanks are really fast.
Redline anything's really fast.
Redline Kodiaks are really fast.
Sprinting into position. But here's the thing with tanks, be it Wraith or Scorpion. I think Grizzlies are good where they're at right now. We could leave Grizzlies alone. But they just are not worth their price. Because you have a Marauder, which is like, I think it's 350 supplies. I think that's where we're at right now. And then you have a Wraith, which is at like it's 525.
525?
So it's
maybe.
550. It's either 550 or 525, and then some power. And they just aren't tanky enough like the Marauders are. Because Marauders with thick hide are so tanky. They do not as much damage because they just refuse to die. At Wraiths, they out everything. And their Scorch Mortar doesn't do enough burst damage. People will just move out of the Scorch AoE. So maybe if their actual shot did more damage, be it AoE or just direct damage, it would make Wraiths a lot more viable, kind of like what's been suggested. Just increasing its hit points and DPS would make Wraiths a more enticing option, but still, until Scorch Mortar is viable, I think I'll just build Marauders with thick hide.
Yeah.
I think Canister Shell needs a area or AoE, a larger AoE radius when it lands on impact to clean up infantry better. Because currently it doesn't have much AoE, I don't think, and for like 900 power, it's kind of a waste. I don't even know if Canister is even worth getting because of that. I think I'd rather
Okay.
Advanced Logistics 2 or 3.
What about Isabel's one with the best offense?
I haven't gotten to a Scorpion match against an Isabel in forever because they just usually drown you in hogs.
I haven't really seen the best offense in action, so.
I think if we wanted to maybe look at the best offense, we'd have to tone down tier 2 vehicles to make it an enticing option. Because Isabel, when she can pump out Warthogs faster and cheaper than you can pump out Scouts, why would she transition to Scorpions, which are a slower unit? Why not just go Hogs and Kodiaks or Hog Vulture for base busting? So, I mean, that's just why I don't think I've seen Isabel's best offense canister shell yet.
Tanks shouldn't lose to Kodiaks, though, or Siege turrets. I don't think tanks should lose to that stuff. Like, because how slow they are, and how much base damage they should have.
Yeah, so we'd
Like,
have
Siege turrets and Kodiaks shut down everything.
for that. So far we've got a bunch of stuff on the list. That siege turrets shouldn't be doing as much damage, just a little bit less, and that Kodiak should be more easily killed. But the Metalloid is saying that the damage from Kodiaks actually is too much. What do you think is the core of the issue? I mean, they've been repeatedly buffed many times, so I'm not too surprised that people are agreeing in unison.
I think Kodiaks are too cheap. I think their damage is good, because I mean, I just like to think of siege tanks in StarCraft. Siege tanks are an expensive unit. You take time to deploy it, but it dishes out some hurt when it fires, which I think is what a siege unit should do. Not saying the Kodiak is an apple-to-apple comparison with the siege tank from StarCraft, but I'm okay with a siege unit doing lots of damage if it wasn't so easy to mass them. With Kodiaks only costing supply and being much, I mean, is a Kodiak, isn't it like 350 supply? Correct me if I'm wrong.
It's actually 450. No?
Oh, it's 450.
Or is it 500?
Okay, then I might be wrong.
It's 500.
It starts at 500. Yeah, I was Isabel today, that's why it was 450. Yeah, it starts at 500.
I was thinking of Isabel. But, I mean, I think maybe if you attached a power cost to it, maybe decreased its supply, increase a bit of power, it'd be okay. But, I mean, I've also been shelled to Kingdom Come by Kodiaks a fair amount. So, I mean, I wouldn't be opposed to a damage nerf, but I'm okay with a siege unit doing a lot of damage.
I think it's fine the way it is. That's like 2 hogs, and 2 hogs will beat a Kodiak, so I think that's fine. The cost.
Just a quick reply to Solid Conviction. There will be no more today because it's 3:30 in the morning for me. So we're just gonna go for this one, and then possibly next time. I would like that. Let's talk about. So we all agree, by the way, that the tier 3 vehicle should be a base cracker, right? In addition to being just a good core unit.
Right.
But it's
I don't think you
very
should need
mobile.
a Locust with race to kill a base.
Yeah, I mean, I
think
guess
about
they'd
it,
help, but you know, it wouldn't be a necessity. That's the idea,
yeah,
right?
because I mean, here's the thing: if you get to late game and people get fortification 3, you're gonna need some dedicated base busters to bring that down. Either vultures with their Phoenix missiles or enough locusts to melt it. I think tanks are expensive enough that they should be able to kill a base pretty effectively on their own. I mean, both of them are still slow. Wraiths are a little faster than Scorpions, and Grizzlies are slower than Cold Tar, but I don't really think anything is wrong with that. They're a really expensive tier 3 unit, so they should be valuable at tier 3. You need base busting.
Okay.
Especially if that base has siege turrets on it. I don't think siege turrets should be able to wipe a tank army.
Agreed.
Yeah. Yeah. I wonder if the changes proposed are enough for that. That the siege turrets will be doing less damage, but again, it's pretty obvious that all of these changes are very tied together so far. Everything that we've talked about, except maybe the leader-specific stuff, which is a slightly different topic. What do you guys think about making the support units take less damage from AA?
Support units? Oh.
Like Nightingales. Yeah.
I don't know, because like if you have 2 wolves in your army, then the support units they have are pretty much dead. So
I think it's a fine line, because like Jeddey said, you build 2 wolves or like 1 reaver, and any engineers or nightingales they make are basically dead. But at the same time, you can't make them too durable, because then otherwise people will just go Super Sentinel, max Nightingale, and there's no way you can kill the Nightingales quick enough.
Yeah.
Or similar thing with like a Scarab and just loads of engineers, and that's no fun for anyone. I know that super units are kind of costly, so it's not like everyone would be doing that, but it would make that a really annoying and not fun strategy to face against. I do think they should be more durable, because I mean, if you got lots of other air units, they survive just fine, because your Wolverines or Reavers will shoot the Banshees or Hornets first. But when they're the only thing there, they get shot down so fast it's not even worth building them, really.
Yeah. There was a point where I remember a Yoda stream, he was talking about just making 2 and putting them on hold position and then going there to actually heal. Because they'll just die anyway.
Exactly. So I do think they should be more durable. Not too much, but they're definitely too squishy right now.
I suppose it would also help air do a little bit better if they'd be healed all the time. Scootman says Forge. So there is a change to make the Forge Hog mitigate only half that it does now. Do you guys think that's enough in addition to everything else? Like, the Hog meta definitely helps Forge a lot. There's no doubt about that. He's a vehicle leader. He likes the Grizzlies. When you upgrade the vehicles, it really benefits your Grizzly drop.
I think making the damage mitigation aura either not affect Forge at all, or only reduce it 50%, kind of like what you were saying, would really help out. Because I think that Forge Hog is just a great hero. Like, mid-game, late game, he's good. But I think he's too good early game, because he's too tanky and too fast. Because if you look at the other tank kind of heroes in the early game, you got the Hunter Captain, Warlord, and, you know, there might be another one I'm not thinking of, but those are the 2 that come to my mind. And Warlord's a melee unit, so you can kind of work around that, at least till he gets hammer pull. But then you have the Hunter Captain who's slower than Cold Tar, so you can just avoid him. Forge, you can't do that. Forge can run in, run out, because he's super fast, plus that damage mitigation makes him super tanky. Move that aura from himself or reduce it like we've suggested. I think it would be a lot better, because then he can still do damage, but it's still mobile, and benefits the vehicle army around him. I feel like adjusting that would help Forge get in a lot better spot.
Is there anything else about Forge that is a problem?
I think he's fine at Tech 1 because usually the Spartan and Marines can usually handle it, and I think Jerome's Mantis also is almost equal to the Forge Hog. If you go grenade throw, because me and Yoda were testing that, and we were doing the same build, and then it was basically whoever won had the better micro, or the guy with, if you kept your Forge Hog alive, all Tech 1, then you'd pretty much win.
Yeah, well, so Inspire is pretty much, you know,
job to kill it.
Inspire is pretty much a full global upgrade, so that's definitely very relevant there. Wouldn't be surprised if Jerome comes back, actually, if much of this topic is actually followed for balance changes.
Yeah.
Jerome's pretty good.
I feel like Jerome's in a good spot right now.
Yeah, I think the only problem with him is really that the Mantis slows down Marines. That's about it.
Yeah. But I mean, if we're talking about Forge, I honestly feel like if you adjust the Forge Hog's aura and make it so your units don't bug out when they drop a scatter bomb on them. I hate that so much. They drop a scatter bomb and your units bug out so they don't move for like...
Seriously, what is that?
For like 2 seconds. I hate it so much. If you fix those two things, I think Forge is in a good spot. He'll be a viable leader, still can reward good play, but not so unfair that it's to pick.
What does that again? Scatter bomb, and there's one more that does that.
Does the Enduring Conviction drop?
Oh yeah,
with Jerome?
Yes. Thank you.
So those are probably the most annoying things to ever happen.
Yeah,
those
seriously,
powers do
it's
lots of damage, which is fine, but when your units won't move out, it's not fine.
Exactly, because it's not your mistake, it's just the game breaking on you. How would we alternatively want to go about something like making Serena's Cryotech upgrade to a 2-pointer, since we can't ask for that, most likely? What's a good alternative?
Here's a question. Sorry, what were you gonna say, Jeddey?
Maybe move it to later. Probably switch it with Seismic Blast at the 6 o'clock, whatever that one is.
I guess.
I don't think that would be a bad idea.
Because you're not really going to use Seismic Blast at the second
yeah, you'd
tier.
have to get a lot done with your Bison in order to make that worth it.
I think, I don't know if this is possible, but if you could adjust the values for each thing and its freezing ability, like I said, I don't know if that's possible. If you could make it so nodes froze you slower or reduced movement speed less, as opposed to like cryo troopers or Kodiaks or siege turrets. I feel like maybe adjusting those would be good. But if that's not possible, I think moving it later down the leader wheel would be nice.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because we're already suggesting to do that to you know, calm down on how much it buffs stuff up.
Yeah,
And
exactly.
maybe it's enough to just wait and see with that. And if not, then we can also switch it with Seismic Blast. Like, that would be cool.
Mm-hmm. I think that would be a great change.
Just looking at this game between Scoot and Hatchy, it's actually really, really brutal. How much the Mantis get outnumbered, wow. I feel like Johnson will be needing the Cyclops to work.
Yeah. Well, I mean, and Cyclopses benefit from mech overcharge, I believe.
Yes.
So if Cyclopses were buffed to make it, they could kind of tip it in Johnson's favor so he could deal with hog spammers, I think that would synergize well with the rest of his army.
Yeah. Just seems so hard to keep up.
Because, I mean, you can pump out hogs faster, cheaper, and they move a lot faster than mantises.
Yeah.
So
Although they
you kinda-
lose straight
you would
up,
need
but there's
those
a forge up.
Cyclopses to put it over the edge.
And yeah. Okay, so on to some more key issues. There's not much left, by the way. Oh, Flamehogs. We never talked about Flamehogs. Jeddey, you like fire still, right?
Oh yeah. It does need a buff.
I heard,
There's-
I haven't tested this yet
They're a straight
personally,
trash unit.
but that they're doing worse than normal hogs versus buildings and infantry. Like 1-to-1, they're doing
Yeah.
worse.
Yeah.
I was in a test with that, and I saw it firsthand. It's kind of sad. It's really sad.
Yeah, I think they got left behind with
Okay.
the recent patches.
Guess they got forgotten about a little bit. So hopefully that can be fixed. At least
I feel
do
like-
better where they should.
I think we as in me and DC Longshot, because we were doing Flamehawk tests when Post Carnage joined our party, and I think he mentioned that the main issue arose when they buffed Hog's damage from their chain gun.
Yeah.
They didn't buff Flamehogs to compensate, because originally Flamehogs performed better than Warthogs in those two regards, which is good because Flamehogs do worse against air and vehicles, better against vehicles and buildings. But since they didn't also buff Flamehogs along with Warthogs, it made it so Hogs are just a better unit all around, not to mention less pop. So I think if we buff up Flamehogs against building and infantry, it would be great. The unit would actually be worth building,
Yeah.
and would be fine if it did less against vehicles and air, because it's not specialized against that.
Yeah. Although I think right now it does way less against vehicles.
Yeah.
And I think it
tickles
shouldn't.
them,
I don't
basically.
think it should do less by as much as it does to make it more equal when people go hogs versus flame hogs.
Well, I think a solid mix, in my opinion, in the perfect world, if we got AV fixed and then Flame Hogs buffed, I think to go against a hog army, you could go majority Flame Hogs with a couple Cyclops in there, like maybe 6 to 8 Cyclops, and basically use those Cyclops to even the odds against the Warthogs, and you'd be in a good spot without having to make Flamehogs better against vehicles.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, to promote mixed arm rather than just one unit spam, I think that would be the best route to go. Leave their vehicle damage alone, make it so AV is viable, so then we have a mixed army rather than who can mass more hogs.
Oh yeah. Okay, and I guess we got a few minutes to talk about some fun stuff, particularly if Scootman is actually available for another. Oh.
What kind of fun stuff? Like Terminus?
No.
Terminus firefight.
More fun stuff. What do you guys think about the...
Let's talk about Blitz.
Yeah,
how
we
do you
need
guys
some
feel about the
balance.
eradication suggestion?
I personally, I would change eradication differently. I don't think that's a bad change to eradication personally. I think eradication, if it got its unit damage buffed, left base damage the same, it would still be good. That's the route I would go, but the proposed change is fine too, because it would basically does the same thing. So
yeah. So sorry. Could you repeat what you were saying at first? What's your proposal?
So I would think buffing the unit damage from the 8 beams would be good. Leave base damage the same though, because we don't want it base sniping leader power.
Oh, no.
That's.
I think you're misunderstanding the proposal. It says that the explosion would be downgraded to compensate. So overall, you'd get the same amount of damage out of it if you don't move.
Oh, okay. I just reread it. Yeah, I wouldn't be opposed to this. Currently, eradication is not that great of a power. Yeah. Honestly.
I think most of the time you'll just run out of it, and the very rare occasion where you don't look, well, everything's dead.
Exactly. Making it, I think, if we make a telegraph, making it more like Hunter's brand, just a large Hunter's brand, wouldn't be a bad idea. Making the explosion less damage, kind of like you suggested. So, obviously not slow units like Hunter's brand does. But if it was...
yeah,
if
that
it was like that...
That would be funny.
Yeah. Might have to jack up its price a bit. But overall, the proposed changes to eradication, I think, are good. Atriox needs some help, in my opinion.
We could throw in something like restoring some glory to the fortifications. I think it over-nerfed a bit.
That would help Atriox a lot. I mean, I think fortifications was justly nerfed back then, but shield generators are a lot different now. They provide less shield, and it's harder to stack them. So I think fortification should go back to the way it was originally.
I think even if it was just partially reverted, that would be already a big step for Atriox, in case that, you know, P4 would be worried about going too far back to where it was and getting these triple explos going. Although it would definitely not be as easy with the shields.
Because, I mean, here's the thing about Atriox triple expoing, is even if he buys all of those bases really quick, the base itself is cheap, but building the buildings on the base is still expensive.
Yeah.
And you can't get as many shield generators like you used to, because each shield generator on the map increases the price of other ones. So
I guess it could be just the base cost.
Yeah.
So if the base...
I think partially reverting it, or going back to the way it was originally, would be perfect for fortification.
Are we talking just about the base's cost, or everything about fortifications?
I think everything, in my opinion. Because just the way that the game is right now, I don't think triple expanding would be that good, because if you think about it, even if it's super cheap, triple expanding, then upgrading to make it so you could build a shield generator, then building a shield generator, sure, it's cheaper, but the amount of time that takes, I think someone could probably push you, and you wouldn't have a large army and punish you for it.
Yeah.
But also makes it a viable option.
Yeah, I think it's reasonable because everything changed a lot. You can't just do some choppers and then buy all the bases. Because the other
Exactly.
guy will be going tier 2 and screw you up.
Mm-hmm. They'll go tier 2, have a bunch of hogs or a bunch of marauders, and you have 4 bases with no units, and the bases are only half filled.
Exactly. And all these tier 2 units do pretty good building damage, so even though you might be trading for a short while you have your scouts, it won't last long.
Exactly.
What I hope
But
it would
if we
bring
do,
back is just
if
a
we do
fast
change,
expo.
yeah, exactly, a fast expo that you can use, kind of, because I mean, if you think about it, all of Atriox's powers are really expensive, which is fine because they're all good. They're just super expensive, so you need an expo to be able to use them effectively. So.
Or you go countermeasures.
Or that option.
I also like when people do a semi-fast tech with grunts and a hero, and then do the fast tech. Well, and then go tech 2. That was a very interesting style and didn't necessarily require an expo, but yeah, it was just a really solid comp before Fox decided to come over and ruin everyone's day.
Yeah. I feel like that would be a viable strategy that you could do with Atriox if fortifications was changed. I really feel like he died a death of 1,000 cuts. He was just nerfed patch after patch after patch after patch.
Yeah.
To where he's not that good of an option right now.
Yeah, I think I think most of the patches were actually justified. It's just everything else got buffed as well, and that was too much for him.
Yeah, because I mean, if you think about it, if shield generators were the same way they were, the fortification nerf would be fine.
Yeah.
But since shield generators changed, now it's kind of like a double nerf on Atriox.
Yeah, it's time to look back at those changes and rethink which ones were really necessary, and I think that the most obvious one has to be fortifications.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
Vehicle level 1 researched.
Who wants to talk about mega turrets?
Supply pad constructed.
Our base is under attack.
Jeddey, do you have anything to say about mega turrets?
They need to scale more. I don't know. I don't use them.
I feel like scaling more would be really nice. And I don't know. I feel like if a Pavium can get them fully upgraded, then you're kind of screwed.
Mm-hmm.
But maybe if you decrease the projectile speed a little bit to make it so you could move your unit, if you were constantly moving your units, that wouldn't hurt as bad. I think that would be pretty great.
Okay.
But right now, the projectile speed is pretty fast, so even if you're moving, you still get hammered.
That's actually a very cool idea. It would be a
'Cause I
lot more
remember
dynamic
when-
than now.
Yeah, because I remember when 343 was previewing Pavium, I thought to myself, well, if the Mega Turret's projectile is slow enough that you're just moving constantly, that you can kind of mitigate the damage, then it'll be balanced. But as of right now, I think the projectile's just too fast for that, and no matter if you're constantly moving or you just have one slow unit like a Mantis slowing down your Marine army as Jerome, then it just hurts you too much.
What about Yap Yap and the Goblin costs? So the post kind of suggests that it would be nice if the Goblins were a viable tier 1 option, but is a power cost suggestion alone enough to do that?
I think they need more health. Just a little bit though. Not too much. I think their costs are fine, but they're pretty weak. They die like paper.
Is there...
Personally, I would...
Oh, sorry, go on.
Sorry.
Go on.
I would just love it if goblins got treated like they were a vehicle rather than an infantry unit. Just because if you think about it, there's so much anti-infantry at tier 1. You've got Hellbringers, you got snipers, you got suicide grunts, and then you got all of the scout units that if you like either changed their armor value or made them a vehicle so they had vehicle modifiers, it would help them a lot, be a lot more viable, and then they could be used to counter Hellbringer rushes or suicide grunt jump brute rushes, because currently that's what Yap Yap kind of has a problem with, because he doesn't have suicide grunts. But if you make it so the goblins don't die to Hellbringers because they're a vehicle, it gives Yap Yap kind of an effective counter rush option that he could use to transition to mid game.
Okay, that's actually very interesting.
Because originally I thought the goblins were going to be a vehicle type because they're a mech.
Yeah.
But then they weren't. So I think if they were a vehicle type, it'd be a lot better off.
Leader point earned. Turret constructed.
Yeah, I suppose there are far less
Generator constructed.
things that are good against the vehicles.
Fortified level 1 researched.
You're right about that.
Because I mean, that way like Marines with grenades or grunts with shrapnel mines could still kill them, so you don't just have 3 unstoppable juggernauts at tier 1. But they have a decent amount more survivability.
Yeah. I mean, for health, if we go that route, if it's just, you know, I'm not sure about the description suddenly, because, you know, that would need to be localized if that's the issue with changing the points as well. Then that would come back to haunt us in this case. But if we increase the health, there's always the chance that, you know, they'd be too good later on, but then we can just decrease what each of the upgrades does. So we'd be able to say something like, okay, base HP is higher, but the tier 2 upgrade is worse for health increase.
Yeah. I think that would be a good route to go to.
Alright, I think we covered pretty much everything that's critical, or rather just important, and even some of the fun stuff. Is there anything else you guys would like to add before we end this one?
No, I think that's it. I did want to mention that me and Yoda found that the Arbiter in Conduit Rage mode is the only unit that can run away from Pavium's Y ability. Or can escape.
That is
It's a
very funny.
unique situation.
It's the only thing that can get away.
Wow. So wait, if you got an honor guard, it's not gonna do it. If you've got a red line jackrabbit, it's not gonna do it.
Nope.
That is so funny.
The acceleration is too slow.
Oh boy. Well, score 1 for Arbiter.
I think Arbiter wins this thread. That's it.
Firebase constructed.
I think if I could make one final statement, it would be let's
Generator constructed.
buff cannon fodder's pickup rate just a tiny bit more.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's a lot better than where it was at, and I don't want cannon fodder's pickup rate to be where it was at release. But I think it just needs to be a little bit more for Yap Yap to have a good economy early game.
Turret constructed.
All right. I've also made a note on that, and yeah, tomorrow I think I'm gonna do a big edit on this thread. That was a great talk show, guys. Thank you very much for showing up. So this has been BreezyStarfish and Jeddey.
Airpad constructed.
Really appreciate that you guys came around.
Yeah, thanks for having
No
us.
problem. Thanks for having us. Yeah, what Jeddey said.
Yep. So yeah, there will be another one probably tomorrow where we'll talk over the stuff that this one birthed, as well as the one from the other discussion.
Upgrade complete. Heavy machine
All
gun
right.
research.
Awesome.
I don't see the party option anymore, so I can't end it. Oh no.
Leader power ready.
Well, I could just leave the party for you.
Yeah, if you guys could. The party option doesn't show up right now. It's like thinking I don't have one.
Yeah. Well, GG boys. It was good talking with you, and I'll
GG.
catch you later.
Yeah, bye guys.
Bye bye.
See ya.
Yeah, that was pretty good. And this game of Meta versus Hedgie is really wild. What a comeback. I'm gonna continue this. I wanna see the end, of course. I'm sure some of us are actually also watching the game at the same time. It's very impressive how Meta can actually keep up here with the Mantis count. I think he might be getting this base. The Johnson is still alive. Oh. I cursed it. I think those guys are in hold position there, healing that base. And that should be the last Manti.
Supply pad.
Spartan stealing one, actually. Oh yeah, there's just these 4 left now. But Meta is still kinda in it. He's double pumping still. Although he's going up against soon to be 3 bases and more mini bases than what he has.
Supply pad constructed.
It depends. Will Yoda's tournament happen? Because I still haven't heard back from that. So Yoda would live stream everything. I thought he's playing. Either way, I'd help him with streaming, I think. So I joined to co-cast with him. I saw he made a trailer, but he said he didn't have enough sign-ups.
Constructed.
Metaloid with desperation push now. Actually going up all the way here. That Kodiak could be hurtful. Yeah, so if there's a tournament, then right after. Oh wow, Meta actually getting 2 anti-vehicle turrets. It's gonna be difficult to push in here. But the other base is completely unprotected as it stands. There's nothing really to stop Hedgie. We also just stole a Mantis. Oh, that will do it. Holy crap.
Air level 1 researched.
Yeah, that will buy Meta a minute or two. Hedgie is Isabel. So it would be very, very possible for him to just go tier 3 and get some Scorpions. They're actually really good against the Mantis.
Our base is under attack.
When you have this much money, it's okay, because you're ahead. The reason people normally don't do it is because you keep fighting in tier 2 for so long. But now there's really nothing to stop it. This one's upgrading now. But that's gonna be a 7 slot, not a tier 3 upgrade, so.
130 upgrade complete. Our base is under attack.
Thanks for the follow, and thanks for all the other follows today. We've done amazingly well at 20 follows. That's so good for one stream session. Really, really good. Thank you guys so much.
Reinforcements level 1 researched.
Yeah, as you can see, my goal is to do 15, but
Mini base.
oh well. I normally can't hit it, but today has been amazing. Yeah, Johnson's mobility, man, it's just not there, and then the Mantis don't really beat the Hogs. So, in an ideal meta where AV works, I wouldn't be going Mantis against this.
Garage constructed.
Make Sentinel, make win, man. Is he going tier 3? Yep. Making Kodiaks. He could be just going, honestly, tanks. Still making Kodiaks. He's got the best offense. There's nothing to stop him now.
Mini base complete. Mini base complete. I'm receiving
Tier 1 Kinsano turret drop. Yeah, that was... Oh my god, kill me.
Kodiak in play. Supply pad
Woo.
constructed. Leader power ready.
Now this button does not care. Look at that shield bar. No poopy given.
Supply pad.
Oh man, insult injury. Steals 2 manti
Supply pad constructed.
for nearly 3,000 resources. Did I hear Scorpion? Oh yeah. That was a really good Mac. Unfortunately, there's nothing to back it up.
Leader point earned.
AV turrets aren't very good, no. You're right.
Enemy player has been eliminated.
Actually, you know what? I'm gonna write that down, that AV turrets suck, because they do. Alright. Also, a big thank you to all the people who have played background games today. I am very tired and I'm gonna put myself away now. So thanks for the photos, views, games, comments, criticisms, blah blah blah.